For today's questions, we're going to be looking at division and multiplication in solving the inequalities. And as you recall, multiplication is undone using division, and division is undone using multiplication. So right here we see 4x is less than 8. We're going to undo this multiplication using division by dividing by 4 on both sides. So we end up with x is less than 2. Graphing that, here is 2. We're going to have an open circle because we don't want things to be equal to. Our numbers are less than 2, and that means we're going to shade to the left. All right, here we have division. We're going to undo that using multiplication. We're going to multiply by 4. Multiply by 4. That gives us 40.8 on this side, and a by itself on this side. Let's switch it around so we can see what it looks like with the variable on the left-hand side. Now remember, the smaller end is pointing towards the a here. We need to make sure the smaller end continues to point towards the a on this side. So we have numbers that are less than 40.8. So there's a couple of ways we could graph it if it's a decimal. I could just simply write 40.8, open circle, and shade to the left. Or if you prefer, you can draw the whole numbers and put it in between. So here's 40 and here's 41. 40.8 would be in between 40 and 41, closer to 41, still shading to the left. So whichever graph is most appropriate for the situation, that's what we would use on that one. Now, on the next example, there is one detail that we have to take into account when we're multiplying or dividing with inequalities. We didn't have to worry about this with equations because there was no greater than or less than, that both sides were equal to each other. So we're going to use this as an example to see the new thing that happened. Now I've got 6 and 4 here, and the symbol that goes between both of those would be greater than. If I divide both sides by positive 2, we end up with 3 and 2, and you notice that 3 is still greater than 2. However, if I divide by a negative number, that's where interesting things start to happen. So 6 divided by negative 2 is negative 3. 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. And now you notice that this inequality symbol is not true. Negative 3 is actually the smaller number, but this symbol says that it's the bigger number. So we have to keep in mind anytime we divide by a negative number, and also when we multiply by a negative number, that inequality symbol is going to switch directions. That comes into play in our next question right here, because you notice that we have to eliminate this negative 2. We do so by dividing by negative 2. And over here we'll divide by negative 2. Okay, we just chose to divide by a negative number. That means this inequality has to change directions. So it is now, instead of being a less than symbol, it's a greater than symbol. And we have a z over here and a positive 5. Now if you want the z on the left-hand side, we have to remember to switch the inequality symbol again, because the smaller end points to the z. Smaller end needs to continue to point to the z. Let's go ahead and graph that. Here's 5, 6, and 4. Open circle, and we're again going to shade to the left because we want our numbers to be smaller than 5. Thank you.